I'm Mr. James.
And I'm Mr. Ritchie.
And I'm Mrs. Duley.
And we are the Educators. Yes, we have a guest today, everybody. Did an amazing job. And it is September 17th, 2020. Mr. Ritchie's phone is going off like crazy. It's a new iPhone, so it has to say something to him every minute.
I've never been an Apple user, so it does what it does, and I leave it there.
You know not to push the side button, right?
Well, I did just now, and I swear I did that 5 minutes ago when I said I was doing that, but something happened.
Apparently a lot of people are inadvertently calling 911 with that emergency side button. Gonna watch out.
Yeah, okay. It is Thursday, and this is a normal time. We have a guest, which is amazing. We have someone who works with us in a certain district that we work at in Maine, and also a listener, which is interesting. So this is our first guest fan, possibly.
Yeah, put me on the fan club.
Yes,
nice.
All right. I mean, according to some estimates, we have one female listener, so maybe this is the only listener we have. We invited our only listener.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. If you listen to us, we'll invite you on because we need guests.
Perfect.
Especially educators.
Right.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
That is great. And what do you do in your district, our district?
School counselor for grades 3rd through 6th.
Wow.
And not guidance counselor. So a lot of people like to throw that word around, but we are very strongly advocating school counselor. That is, that's what we do.
That gives guidance.
At times we give guidance lessons. Yeah. It gets bogged down in all the terminology, but school counselor is the preferred terminology. So.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, so unfortunately, this is the part where I usually go into the sad part. Yeah, and I got to talk about it because it's still a very real and prevalent thing here. We're in the middle of a pandemic called COVID-19, the virus is COVID-19. But the world had a weekly increase of almost 2 million, 1.9 million over the last week. In the U.S., weekly increase. So these are just new cases too. These aren't total, of course, but like in the U.S., 261,000 new cases in the last week, and here in Maine, 207, which is over last week's number of 143. Actually, all the numbers are up this week by a pretty decent amount, sizable amount. So we're definitely not around the corner yet. We will certainly have to be riding this wave for a little bit, but it does kind of seem like it's getting a little closer.
Yeah. So we have some news of every now and then you're going to hear certain towns or some school district and someone's got it, and then everyone's kind of trace, and we kind of all got some sort of word about that today, like very recently.
A couple of districts around nearby that have had some positive cases, and well, we'll see what happens. Well, we've had some cases nearby at colleges that luckily didn't turn into large situations within the past few weeks. So luckily, we've gotten by so far. We're going to see what happens with this one, but it does seem like it's closing in because there's a lot of new cases. There's a shipyard in Maine that has a outbreak. Of course, we're still really from the wedding that has caused a whole bunch of cases. And so let's hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, I guess.
I know I've heard that the WHO, I think in Europe, said Europe's exploding again with like a second wave. So everything I've listened to is called this. They said, "Oh, we're just in the middle of the first wave."
That's what I was going to say. Like, we haven't even completed our first wave, so the second wave. I'm not ready for that.
It's just, and with the flu season and cold season, and you could wake up, have some sniffles and go, allergies, I guess. And should I buy one of those temperature guns, that seem to work better? I mean, everyone's like, oh, thermometer, put in my mouth for like 5-10 minutes. I don't know if it's working. I'd rather have one of those guns that I can aim my head and have it give me the numbers that I get marketed these things every single day on social media.
Yeah. I use an ear thermometer that I went when I took my son to the pediatrician for one visit. I took it with me to see how close it was to theirs, and it was like spot on.
Yeah. Nice. That's the test I need to do. I have 2, and I don't know which one's accurate because if you like, I don't know, and you try them both at the same time, I get to, you know, whatever I got to do, and the fact that I can't trust the device makes it useless. And so we do use it just to see if like we have like an obvious fever, like if it reads 101, okay, like, you know, we got a fever, but yeah, I need to know like a really good one. And right now they're all sold out. So even if I wanted one, I couldn't get one.
I can let you borrow my rectal thermometer if you.
Let's keep those to ourselves.
I'm pretty sure though that like that thermometer is the exact same as any other thermometer. It's not like it has a softer tip or something.
What? You know what? What a guy.
Put it in your mouth.
Yeah. Don't put it in your mouth after. Hold on. Let me put it in your mouth. No. You know where that's been. I don't know where it's been. Oh. But that's, this the thermometer thing. And now they have a test if you spit on it. They're taking a blood test. You can take it home and it has some litmus sort of paper that will tell you. But I mean, say you have it, and then what are you going to keep testing every 5 to 10 days? So is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? I feel better. Is it still in my system?
I mean, if you can afford it, you would test every day, like professional baseball players, or like there was a guy in NASCAR the other day that like he tested positive, and like 5 days later he was cleared to race, like because he tested negative. And so it's like, you know, is a disparity between, you know, people working in like education in front of, you know, hundreds of kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like professional sports players. And I'm like, wow, like it highlights a bunch of things, you know, and I won't go too deep into it, but it's just like, you know, I really appreciate being able to take one, you know, just to like see if I had antibodies, and perhaps I have had it, or if I don't, that'd be great. You know, if that would be cool, but that's not even affordable right now because it's you know, it's not a diagnosis, is an optional thing to do. So it's still, you know, hundreds of dollars if you want to get that done. But meanwhile, people can just get tested every day if you play professional sports and can't afford good health care. So
it's
an interesting thing.
Amazing how many issues, like social issues, economic issues, that this pandemic has just made come to the forefront. It's amazing.
Yeah, just laid bare all of these like really big problems that we should be thinking about. And I do like talking about that with my students, and I say, we need smart adults. And I'm trying as hard to help become smart adults because we need you. Like, you know, we're doing what we can, you know, my generation, but we need your generation to be smart in the sciences and aware of things happening, so you can help us out, because we're going to be old by the time that you're in charge. So we're going to need you.
It's critical.
Yeah.
Maybe have robot bodies. I don't know. I mean, that's what we're really kind of hoping for. That's another thing that we talk about generally on this podcast, is the fact that all the things we want to do, you know, at least the human race wants to do, going to different planets, exploring things, it does require humans to live longer. And I mean like exponentially longer. And we've just discussed before the fact that maybe someone gets a terminal degree, a PhD, maybe like a postdoc in something, and then they look at themselves and they're like, well, I'm 55 now. Let's hope I can get some work in before I have to retire, or I really can't get myself to work any longer. And that's not a lot of years. For spending all those years to get the education and to get somewhere in a field, and then 15 years to kind of try to pass it on to those that are interested, that might be just 2 people. So it just feels so bad. Like if we were living like 300, 500, maybe like infinite. I mean, if you could live 100 years from where you are right now, we would get probably to the point where you could live infinitely, because they would find something. So that's kind of dilemma is like, we should be focusing on that. And maybe the world doesn't think like that. I don't know. With all these things happening, they're going to say, you know what? Let's just keep the money pushing in. We got this vaccine coming. Let's try to make humans live longer.
I would sign up. I would sign up to have my brain downloaded, and I would be all right with it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I've considered that before. We've talked about it on the show too before. Is that like I would absolutely, if I'm lucky enough to get a deathbed, and not all of us do, you know, it's one of those things. But if I'm on the deathbed and it's like, hey, we've got this brand new thing, we're gonna take, you know, your biological data, turn it into digital data. We've got this new machine. It's Neuralink. Elon Musk made it. You know, something. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Even if it's like me repeating through my memories of life or whatever, I'd still be even fine with that. Like, even if it was, you know, super basic, and someday in the future they're like, wow, this poor guy, he's like, you know, stuck in this old machine, and like now we've got these even better machines. Still, I think that's pretty cool, and I would be fine with that. So yeah, I'm totally down to download it.
Like being driven by FOMO, I think I would like want to do that, like fear of missing out.
Yeah, absolutely,
dude. So like I'll take it. I'll take a repeat, and so yeah, I'm with you.
FOMO drove my life for so long that like I've still got a taste of it, and that's how I'll exercise it, you know.
Exactly. What a good way to do it.
Right?
Yeah, that's the right thing. Well, we're going to move on to another section. This is great because we did start talking about science, maybe science fiction or near future science, hopefully.
Science probable reality is what
which I'm hoping we're definitely going to get more into that. So this is science in the news, and we've got some pretty interesting things right now. First up, 7 footprints on Arabian Peninsula. I believe this is in Saudi Arabia. May be the oldest human evidence. They said in anywhere between 112 to 121,000 years old. Previously, it was around 85, 86,000. So humans that long ago.
It's theorized that humans existed as much as 200,000 years ago.
200,000,
but there's no like solid evidence. So this evidence that goes to 120,000 potentially. I mean, that's awesome. We're going so far back in 20,000 years is a long time to realize that like people like you and I, we're walking around this place. That's pretty cool.
120,000 years ago, someone went outside of their cave to go to the bathroom. And they stepped in some mud, and this is what we're finding. It's like, great.
Yeah, they got attacked by like a saber-toothed tiger and never made it back.
I hope we can find something else about, It's like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
So the oldest right now is, what is it? Lucy, Australopithecus?
Yeah.
And how far back does she date? I can't. Is that
I gotta find that. So Lucy.
Yeah, this one says the oldest one they've had so far, they said previously, was 86,000 years.
Yeah.
Oldest evidence of humans in the region.
That's amazing.
And so Lucy was one of the stages, and her skeleton is from 3.2 million years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, so many stages of human development in between those years. Wow. Like, that's so interesting. Like, to put them side by side, because Lucy has been in, you know, the news for so long, and like, you know, some people think that was the first human, and, you know, I think that was the first upright walking.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that is so cool. Like, we walked for millions of years before we developed into humans, which is pretty cool. That's significant right there.
Nice.
That's awesome.
First human is 112 is what they're finding evidence. I'm trying to space out my human evolution class was a really long time ago.
No, that's pretty
Nice.
Cool. And like, so there's been so many other ones too. Unfortunately, there were some recent things in like Australia where there was a mining company that destroyed some evidence of human like civilization from I'm trying to think of how long ago it was. Let's see.
That's another big thing, destroying
Yeah,
digging something up, and they go, "Oh man, look what we discovered." And I'm sure half the people working at the construction site go, "Just dig it up. Who cares? Cover it up." And then, no, this could mean, and it's like they go, "Come on, we need to build this mall. Like we're a month late to build this mall." It's like, don't build the mall. You're just uncovering something that's like changing the world. You're going to be famous.
So it was, so it was a cave that showed like human activity for a long time. Like there's a lot of evidence there, dating back to 46,000 years. So I mean, that's even just a huge amount of data lost. And they I think it was a oil company, iron ore. It was an iron ore company. So of course in Australia, all the rocks, Australia is red from the amount of iron that's in the rocks, just the same as Mars basically. But and of course they have these giant mining companies that will literally just go through and just plow through all of these areas. And Australia has the oldest rocks on Earth, like billions of years old, that have been unchanged for that length of time. And unfortunately, some companies and people in general don't really care about the history that much, and they would rather care about money in the short term, and that's really unfortunate. But wow, so 120,000-year-old footprints in the mud. I hope that guy knew. When he stepped in the mud, he's just like, "Yep,
leaving my footprint."
That's right.
Yeah, he's getting attacked by something. So next item, which is interesting, another thing goes with COVID. The blood donations in the U.S., which they've been getting, shows that we're nowhere near herd immunity. Of course, we're nowhere near anything to end this.
Of course not. Well, what's unfortunate is that I haven't given blood in a long time, and for obvious reasons. And
I take blood, I don't give it. Give me your blood.
I used to have a really good habit of going and giving blood, and the whole process itself is so unfortunately frustrating that I've given up on it for a while. And I wish that it showed a little bit better prospects. And I wish that they would test and let you know right away, hey, yeah, you totally used to have it, but you're good now. And that'd be great. I would totally go and donate blood right now if they did that right on the spot. They're like, "Don't worry, man, you already got it," or "You had it a long time ago. You got low antibody count. You still got to be worried about it." They need to offer that service, and then I will go donate blood every weeks, whatever I could do.
They take your blood and they don't like it, and then they go, "You can take these." And you're like, "What am I going to do with a bag of my own blood? This is, I don't know, drink it?" You seriously saying that to me?
And I have O positive blood, so whenever I go, they're like, "Ooh, hey, would you like to let us take twice the amount?"
Yeah,
and I was like, "Yeah, sure."
They have someone sit on your chest and they're trying to get the extra. Guys, I'm looking a little pale. What's going on? It's okay. Yeah. I think you've got 3.5 pints. I think we can take 2.5, and you can still survive.
Yeah,
as long as there's a trickle going through your body.
For that, do they give you some extra cookies or crackers, whatever it is they give you?
I think they give me extra personality. They're I think that they try to up it, but no, I still get the same amount of crackers and juice as everyone else, unfortunately.
I definitely fight that.
I know, right? And so what happens is you go and they're like, "Oh, you have O positive," or especially if you have O negative, they're like, "Whoa, gold mine." But they're like, "Hey, can you do a double red?" And they will take out twice as much of your red blood cell, but they'll put in your white blood cells back in. And so what happens is they separate in a centrifuge your white and red blood cells, and then they pump the white blood cells back in. And when they do, they have to mix it with saline and this numbing solution. And so when they do that, the numbing solution goes to your lips, and it, all of a sudden it feels tingly, like your lips just woke up, like a dead arm, and so it's the weirdest thing, but it takes twice as long, but I don't know, that's the thing that we need people to do, and I should be back there doing it. But like I said, if they up the ante, offer me a COVID test, I'll be right there at the hospital in a minute.
I think they've been doing any test. Can you give me every single test, AIDS through cancer, whatever you can with blood? Take my blood and just give me every test. I mean, I'll give a little bit. Yeah. Like, you've got it. Okay. I'm going to give you some of it, but I still want to test some of it. Like, at the same time, run it through your machine and just makes sense. Have that guy over there with the dark cape take a sip of it and tell me what he thinks. I mean, no, COVID. I don't like it.
Do not, like Mitch Hedberg said, do not go to Dr. Acula. Not a good doctor.
So we have another science thing that I think Mr. Ritchie should tell us about, because it's pretty interesting.
Well, so you're the one that mentioned it to me earlier today, that I think, or you sent something to me like that. Yeah. So they discovered phosphine gas in the atmosphere of Venus. So phosphine gas is something that's usually given off by life, and usually I think something that's consumed in nature quickly, so it doesn't like build up. And so therefore it's like a sign of something. It's like methane on what's that moon? I'm trying to think of.
Yeah,
but anyways,
Europa.
Yeah, Europa, exactly. And so they're like, wow, there's methane. All right, well, there's phosphine on Venus. And so what was interesting is that in the article, what caught my attention immediately was that Russia was like, yeah, we're going to go back there and study this, because Venus is a Russian planet. Or in the story, they even said like it was a Soviet planet before, and it was, if in terms of missions. So
wait,
there have been.
Wait. So how does Russia own Venus? And you're gonna have to explain that to me, like.
Yeah, well, they should, because back in the day, all the major countries of Earth signed a declaration that said that all of the heavenly bodies, moon to planets, were not claimable, or whatever, by anyone on Earth, any nation on Earth, and they signed this thing. But I mean, that was way back in the day. It's not even the Soviet Union anymore. I don't even know if they've updated that since. But like, yeah, like you wouldn't say, all right, so the U.S. has been to all the planets at this point. We wouldn't say like Pluto's a United States planet because we had a flyby, a couple of years ago, but that's what kind of Russia did. But, Russia's not unknown for these crazy things that they say, especially in the news about space, because space exploration used to be their pride and joy, and they really kind of kicked our butts at first, especially with exploration of Venus. There have been 45 missions to Venus total. 27 of them were from Russia, and there have only been 7 U.S. Missions there that weren't a spacecraft going somewhere else. So there was 11 U.S. craft that have gone to Venus. 4 of them were actually just using Venus as a gravity assist to go to other planets. But while they were there, they took pictures and samples and stuff. But Russia has actually sent 19 landers to the surface of Venus, or attempted, I should say, 19 landers. They've had like 6 or 7 be successful, that like they got through the atmosphere, they hit the ground and relayed some form of data. I think the longest one lasted less than 20 minutes or something because of the intense pressure and heat.
It's like 800 degrees on the surface or something like that.
It's like 200 and something, or whether it's like hot enough to melt lead, but not steel, but it's the pressure. So it's like the surface of Venus, if you're standing there, it's a gaseous atmosphere. However, it's so compressed that it's like you're sitting, I don't know, I can't remember how many feet, but you're like underneath the ocean, basically, like squished upon you. And so like this, you're basically in this giant pressure cooker. That's what Venus is. And it's this miserable environment. But if anyone out there wants to Google like images from the surface of Venus, it's pretty crazy. Like it looks like hell. Like, it's just this scorched landscape, and it's yellow because of all the sulfur,
right?
in the atmosphere.
The planet of love.
Yeah, it's the planet of love, and it's 300, 400 degrees, I think, you know, in the hottest of days, and like on the other side it's still 200 at night.
Russia, you can have it. We're going to Mars,
yeah.
and we're going to land there. You can have your Venus.
Well, you know, and the idea is though, like, I think if on Venus the atmosphere is so thick that if a human being flapped their arms, they could swim through the atmosphere, like if it was, you know, water. Like, and so the life that would have to exist would be further up, you know, kind of like the different depths of the ocean. And so, yeah. You know, even whales don't go to the very, very bottom of the ocean. Like, so in some of the layers of the atmospheres where this life could be. But yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome.
Interesting stuff.
And speaking of water.
Yeah. So then the last item, underwater sound waves from earthquakes help scientists measure climate change, which I think is interesting, using sound waves, sound being, I guess, my specialty.
Right.
But nice. Another way for them to measure the inevitable climate change. I mean, honestly, I think it's as much stuff as we might get about saying, hey, there's climate change happening. There's still going to be those that deny that, you know, it all happens. And hopefully this is going to be something to kind of measure, like, it looks like we're going up by 1 degree. And I guess if we go up by 2 degrees, then life is going to be drastically changed.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, so this is one of the stories I haven't looked at yet, but one of the things that I tell people, so if someone asks, like, all right, how do we know what's on the inside of the earth? We've never been there. We didn't put a camera down there or whatever. The answer is basically sonograms. Like, you know, you can't see the baby in the womb. You just put some sound waves through it and you read it on the other side, or you bounce them and they come back. And so it's the same exact thing for the middle of the earth. You can basically, you put seismometers around the earth and network them together, and then an earthquake happens. And it's basically a free sonogram of the inside of the earth. It basically just echoes around, and you can measure and see all these different things. So I haven't seen what what this information is about, how they can measure climate change with it. But if anyone doubts the science, I'm going to tell you that sonograms are pretty reliable. I mean, you know, we use them all the time, and radar is a pretty old technology. So like understanding waves and interpreting waves as data is something that we've got a pretty good grasp on. So I would say that this is some pretty sound science by the sounds of it.
That's great. So the best thing about, so thank you, Mrs. Duley, for being part of that segment.
Yeah.
Science thing. The next 2 segments are probably great in right in your wheelhouse, because they're talking about school. I think I nicknamed this episode Shell Shocked.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of teachers, administration, staff, everybody is kind of going through this. Students are going through this right now, going back to school. And the same time, and we joke as UA teachers, because it's going to be a new day. Every few days, it's going to be like every day is a new day, but it's going to be like, oh, it's a new school experience for students, because we get to see a cohort A and a cohort B.
It's so different.
Today was our first day, essentially, with students. I think that teachers, especially staff, getting a little whiplash, you know, trying to figure things out. It's overwhelming. It's a lot of work, a lot to take in and digest.
I was actually surprised. And so, like, we all are definitely going through it at the same time, and judging, you know, preschool, like before school happened, like judging what we, the educators, did at the school, and what, you know, communicating with other educators, especially on Facebook, all talking about what's going on, versus what the kids have shown in their affect, and like just demonstrating. I've got to say that the kids are all right. Like, yeah, and I am impressed. I'm overwhelmed, and it is different. There is a difference in everything, but especially in the first few minutes. But once they like come into my classroom, they sit down, and they realize that it's me, the same guy from last year. Everything's in the classroom is kind of same, you know, it's shaped the same way, the tables are the same way, all that. And I'm still going to talk about the same stuff. All of a sudden they came out of their shell, they started opening up and talking. We basically had the same rapport as we did before. And I have to say they're better mask wearers than adults. And
Yeah.
you know, I see way more adults struggling to keep a mask in front of their mouth and nose than I do these kids.
There you go.
Like, yeah, right?
That's my favorite one, for sure. Yeah, I think that what we're seeing from the kids, it's such a good lesson in resiliency, and shows us really truly how resilient kids can be. And I think that we need to take from that and learn they're flexible, they're adaptable, and as adults we've lost some of that, and so how can we get some of that back? So just as much as they are learning from us, we are constantly learning from our kids, and I try to keep that tucked away. It's like, what can I learn from you today?
Absolutely. Like they're good to, like when they come in and they're in their good spirits and they seem just like, I want it to go back to normal. I'm like, that's pretty cool. You know, like they want that, that normalcy, and they seem to appreciate it. Obviously I have to say that I think it's making us as educators better, because we have to advance and adapt to this. And I hate to say it, but I mean, these small class sizes are amazing. And I'm really sad that it took a pandemic to make it happen like this. But I can hear a kid whispering to his neighbor or her neighbor from across the room. And I'm like, hey, I can hear that. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, you can. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And like, it's like the behaviors for the last year being my first year as a teacher, but not my first year experiencing a first day. So including all of that though, and versus this year, I've got to say, like, it's just going well. And like their attitudes are just as positive, but they are showing that they're willing to adapt to make this go well.
Right. Yeah. I hope that going forward that we can be really mindful about the positives from all of this and really be able to glean and move forward with what is working about this model. I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah.
It's bringing us together more. And I don't know, I feel it's more, we have like a more intimate setting everywhere. We've definitely talked about all of this. We've got this social emotional cohorts thing going on throughout the school. We've got, I mean, the teachers have that. They have their little session to talk about grievances and things that's going on in their lives. I'm treating every one of my classes like a social emotional, like, how are you doing? And this and that. And what I'm introducing is going to have to do with everything like that. And I can go to this level, but I don't have to go to this level. If we want to stay right here, we can go there. But I'm treating everything like it's brand new and it's awesome. And it's more important than what's going on in the world right now. But I still see every now and then a child will say something like, I have to wear this because of the COVID-19. And I'm like, yes. I go, but you're being really safe and doing a really good job. And I get to give them that positive reinforcement that you're doing a great job being a student right now, and you're doing exactly what you should be doing. I think that everybody needs that. I think teachers and adults need that. They need to know you are doing the right thing, rather than, I think we're doing the right thing, because I've heard a lot of teachers tell me that.
No, I think we have to be confident in all the protocols, and we can't poo-poo it in front of the kids, or they are definitely not going to take it serious. And when we poo-poo things, like, we don't only poo-poo things with our words, but it's like the body language. And I do have a little bit of concerns about that potentially coming out from some of our staff. But on the whole, I think that people are doing a good job. I had a conversation with a student. It was a 6th grade student outside at recess today. And it was really cool because she used some like counselor language for sure. She was like, because I was like, how are you feeling? Because, you know, from my counselor perspective, that's what I always want to know, how you're feeling. And she's like, good, this mask is annoying. And kind of, she went on a rant about that for a second, but then she said, it's outside of my control. It's something that I can't control though. So I'll just do it. So I was like, little win.
Yeah, like, whoa.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's such a big win right there. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I, in my classroom, get to explain the why. And I think that's super important with kids, that you don't just tell them what to do, but why this is important, like why you should listen. And I feel like, you know, some people think that you should just give a demand and expect them to follow. And like, that's, you know, one way of pedagogy, but like, I don't subscribe to that. I feel like kids deserve to learn, you know, the why behind things. And so, you know, why are we telling you to stay, you know, 6 feet apart without a mask, 3 feet with, and I go back to the history, 120 years or more of us knowing that the particles in our breath are what cause respiratory illnesses. And like, it's not something new. I explain to them, and I say that, you know, it's not even the first pandemic. And I tell the kids too, you're going to probably have to deal with one of these, you know, when you're older. Hopefully they won't, but like, you know, like
chances are good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, it's really good for them to know the science and stuff behind it, that it's not just these rules coming down, because even a lot of adults feel like it's just a bunch of rules coming down on them from high, and that they have no meaning behind them. But unfortunately, yeah, like the truth is inconvenient, but like, yeah, like this is a real thing. And one of the things that I thought was interesting in the news is that like everybody should understand that it's truly real, it's truly dangerous. Everybody, including even the President of the United States recently, which is a break from the norm, did admit that it was real and dangerous, you know. And that is something that I thought was interesting, because he was talking about, you know, perhaps he downplayed the virus, and he goes, yeah, I did. He goes, yeah, I did. And he didn't deny any of the things that he had said in the interview. And I think the most powerful takeaway from that was that he goes, yeah, like this, he goes, this thing is a plague. And if you're not, you know, if you're the wrong person, this thing's going to take you out. And this thing is real and serious. And that is something that I think a lot of people didn't take away from that. And I think that we should mention that, because it's real. Even the people that deny it should kind of realize, all right, this is probably a real serious thing, and all the way to the top. So
yeah, it's I mean, it's something we live through, and we're gonna go through it and be stronger. And yeah, at the same time, I think everything in the future, I think this ramping up of technology to measure, I mean, just me thinking of in terms, because we talked about technology on here and stuff like that, and I'm surrounded by 2 microphones. We talked about how we record. The watches that are coming out right now, the smart watches, are testing everything from your blood oxygen level, your stress level, telling you throughout the day if it feels like you're stressed. It'll tell you, you're like, yeah, I know I'm stressed. Stop talking to me.
It's like breathe, girl, breathe.
Yeah. So that's it. They're getting better, and I think they're going to be boosting these things to try to do every possible thing they can. And I think that is in a good direction. I'm hoping the more, I mean, things will come out. They're going to be horrible, and then they're going to get better, and they're going to be more refined. We need a lot of horrible new innovations to come out so they can be refined, and then just keep pushing it. And I mean, they keep making phones. The new Xbox and PS5 are going to be out in like a few months. Not that I care about the gaming, but it's the fact that, that's going to put another, like, you can't go below this level now. We can only go beyond that. So things are going to get better, and it's going to give people motivation to do things. That's great. I think we can all benefit from that, even if some people are doing it in a way just to garner more money for themselves. So, I mean, greed still makes innovations, unfortunately, but I think we're getting someplace together that's going to be better. Unfortunately, we do have to do these systemic, structural hygiene protocols, and we really have to stick to them.
I still don't like planned obsolescence, though. I'd still just like to have, like engineered.
On many levels.
Yes, engineered sunsets on technology is, I get it, it's trying to help people progress into the future and free up resources, but like landfills,
I know.
Come on, like a landfill isn't going to revert back to, natural like ground in our lifetimes, or even within like a civilization's lifetime. Like it takes thousands of years for all of these chemicals to sort of like level out, and it doesn't make sense. And so these disposable economy is like something that has to be looked at. Like, let's fix the things that we've got, or recycle a little bit better. And the best recycling story in the history of mankind has been the lead acid battery, and 99% of all lead acid batteries are recycled now, because everything except for the sulfuric acid, that is the electrolyte, is able to be recycled. And it's like the only thing that they did was put a $10 charge on your old battery. Like, when you buy a new battery, it's $100, but it's 110 because we want your old battery. But if you bring that battery back, we'll throw you $10. And it's like, all right, let's do that. And that has been the most successful recycling story in the history of mankind. And I'm like, why don't we do that with lithium ion, all these cell phone batteries, all these things? And like, we've got it on aluminum cans in a few states. Why not all the states? And, I don't know, simple things like that.
So I actually recently found out one of our neighboring towns, a friend said that they are no longer taking glass recyclables. Like, that's something that they just cut out, and I didn't like investigate, but it was really worrisome. I know it was a Facebook post, and somebody said, well, China doesn't want our trash anymore.
Oh yeah, they send it there.
So mine doesn't take plastic anymore, and so I literally have like a 35-gallon bucket full of plastic, and I had nothing to do with it. And I tried to save it, but like the plastic keeps accumulating, and so I just had to go to the dump and throw it in the hopper with all the trash. And I'm just like, my heart.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I remember working at a very well-known organization, nonprofit in this state and other states. And they had one bin outside, and it was for trash. And I was like, you have a lot of cardboard coming in. Where's the recycling? Like, well, we have no place to put it, and it's going to cost us $500 a month to have it there. So they said, throw it out. I go, no, save it, and I can bring it back to where I'm living and recycle it there. And I said, no, we're not taking it with you. So
it's a real problem. Again, this is why we have to teach our children, our students, to solve them. Feel so shameful for saying that, but that's where we're at,
And I want to be able to, like, I'd love to be able to tell a sixth grader, hey, do you know who's paying for all of these stimuluses that are happening right now? You are, for the rest of your life. Like, exactly. But they have no way to absorb that. But it's sort of like, unfortunately, we're heaping this on you. Like, I'll be paying for it too for a while, but like, if I'm lucky, I'll be paying for it for a while. But like, you're probably going to be paying for it your entire life. And if like, whenever my dad like complains about taxes or something like that, I'm just like, that high school over there, just consider that you and 100 other people donated your entire tax input to that school, and just let that burden go off from your mind. Like, just understand. I understand that like some people we should be concerned with like where our tax money goes. And I'm not saying that you just frivolously give it away, but like, I mean, right now, honestly speaking, with lower tax rates than we've had before, and they're disparaged. Like, the amount that was put on the middle class right now is more than necessary, where it's a little lopsided on the other end, where the people that make the most money. So,
lopsided.
a little, And so, I just like to point that out though to him, that his money did go to something good. we have a school.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So next, last segment, and I found this and I thought this is something we can keep going back to, and it is, we all have heard about the Socratic Oath. We've heard about Hippocratic Oath, doctors have, and someone came up with, or many people, different countries came up with the Teacher's Oath, and I found this, and I'll put the link in the description and stuff, and just a few statements I'm going to read to both of you and see what you think about that, kind of shoot some stuff about that, and some comments about if this pandemic is kind of scaring teachers away from this, so they're not fully, I mean, of course, we're not fully 100% ourselves in these environments anymore, but how much are we running from basically our duties, basically? Mm-hmm. So first one, to respect and defend. So a teacher's oath is to respect and defend against anyone the uniqueness of each child.
Well, I think that one is certainly still something we aspire to do. Mm-hmm. And the resources provided limit the ability to perform that. Like for instance, I don't have a budget still this year, and I don't have the ability to use any money from last year's budget. So therefore, in order for me to be able to be functional, I have to provide exactly the same thing to all of the kids, because there's no leeway. And so that is interesting. Now, but as a teacher or educator, I personally do try to respect and defend the uniqueness of each child. And I hope that, each educator on their own specifically does that, but systemically, there's a huge issue where not everybody gets that. That's interesting.
Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think sort of on the same lines as Mr. Ritchie, that this pandemic has sort of like made everybody have to be a uniform sort of robot in certain ways. But I know as my role, that's one of my sort of like main focuses is being like a fierce advocate for students and their differences and who they are individually, and trying to help them develop those. So I definitely buy into that one.
To me, it's like seeing, I'll always try to find something unique in everybody and just point out to them, even if they don't know it. And especially the younger students, and just pointing out, hey, look at those are amazing shoelaces that you've got. Look at everybody, and everyone will look, and I just want everyone to say, find something good in everyone every single day, and just mentioning it to them so they can kind of like get out of themselves enough to go, wow, I'm being recognized for something. I'm being recognized for my uniqueness. And I feel like it's kind of being proactive for that. And I'm wondering how many teachers now are just so worried about, did I wash the chairs 17 times? Did I do that? Did I check all these things I have to do? I can't comment on those little tiny things I would normally notice because my frame of mind is. So the next one is to stand by for his or her physical and mental integrity.
I think inherently you have to, in order to be an educator.
Mm-hmm.
Like you care about their physical safety and their mental stability. Yeah, I think inherently every educator that I know at least cares about that one. That's a good one.
I mean, look at how many teachers have literally stood in front of bullets for their students. So I think that's pretty woven into the fabric of who we are as educators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next one, to prepare him or her to take over responsibility within and for the community.
That's a good one. I like that. I mean, I think that we don't bring in community enough, like, and talk about the place that we live. I think we could do it more. And so in my lessons, I try as hard as I can to keep it as local as possible. And in, like, for instance, my lesson about the sun started with a Google Maps overview of the school and zoomed out and I explained like each zoom out, like this is the city, you know, zoom out, this is the county, this is the state, this is the United States, you know, this is the earth, and then I zoom and I turned the Google camera basically to the sun, you know, and like I totally try to explain where we fit in with all of that, but that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
No, that's different than so I did find the Socratic oath, and it's a little bit different than that. The first two matched, and then the second one, or the third one didn't. So I got to find this.
An extra little thing. The other one is to let him or her learn the world how it is without subjugation to the world how it is. So to learn the world how it is without subjugation to the world how it is.
That's good. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is how the world is. We're not going to have you be subjugated, basically be like torn down by the world how it is. So you can step outside and you can scientifically look at how things are without having to be a victim of this world.
So it's hard for me to judge education as a whole, because personally, I certainly try to impress this upon kids, that like teach them about the world, but say you can change this.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's that little piece of resiliency that we want to sort of, you know, like instill in them. We want them to be resilient and know the world and be able to face it, but like it's not going to eat them alive for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To make him or her feel what a good life might mean.
I personally tell them how much I love my job, and I say to them, some of you might not even know an adult that loves their job because it's so rare, but I do. And I, you know, and so that's I like that one too, man. I gotta find this list somewhere. Where are you getting this list?
it's on our docs thing. Just click on
okay,
it.
there it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Just read.
Hyperlink. Yeah. Last one, I only took a swath of these, as there's so many of them. Last one is to teach truthfulness, not the truth.
I like that one. I really like that one. Yeah.
That goes with what I'm teaching in my like day 1 through day 110 or whatever it is, you know, is that science is more than a body of knowledge, just collecting knowledge that you think is the truth, but that it is a way to figure out the truth, like, or to learn about the world. And so absolutely, personally as a teacher, I think that, and I would like to imagine you know, I'm an optimist when it comes to the education system. I hope that we are all doing the same thing, because I think that all of these are fantastic. I never heard of this before, so I'm impressed, and I agree with all of these.
I think being truthful, it's almost like you're teaching towards, there's no ideal. There's no one ideal, but we're always moving towards that. You're either moving towards a goal or something positive for you that can help benefit others as well, or you're not moving, or you're moving back from that and basically doing something that's hurting someone. You're not moving towards that. And I feel as long as you're moving towards that, you're moving toward a more truthful version of yourself.
Really, truth is always evolving, just like through the scientific process. Oh, and here we are, every Zoom meeting.
Causing trouble in the background. Sorry, she was just starting to get into stuff, so.
Curiosity, you know what they say about curiosity and the cat.
Yeah, I think curiosity also benefited the cat's 8 other lives, so, you know.
They find out more stuff. Yeah, I should have done that. So do either of you think that teachers are using fear almost as an excuse to not be motivated towards teaching in this way?
Yes,
almost against their oaths.
Some, not generalization. I would not generalize that teachers are doing that. Yeah. But I know a pretty good swath of teachers, especially now after a couple of years being in this. But like, at least I hope that it doesn't carry over into their specific classroom, but at least publicly they are at least venting that they are overwhelmed, they can't do this, and how can I possibly manage this going on? And in the actual school environment, I have yet to see a teacher at least admit that so far. I mean, it is only day 5 of this experiment that is 2020, but like I think that there's a few that are displaying that to others, and a very small minority. So I'm not generalizing at all, but definitely some out there personally. That's what I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, but as a counselor, it's my sort of like inclination to peel back the layers beyond that. Like, what is it under there, like, that would lead them to feel that way in the first place, feel so overwhelmed? I mean, this is an overwhelming experience. It's new, a lot to juggle, but I don't know, like, I would look deeper also. It's not just like they want to get out of it. I think there's something below that. What it is, I don't know, but there's below that.
You would like to know.
To get back,
I would like
to find out.
Yeah.
And then last thing before we end up doing our closing stuff is where are we headed as a profession? Where do you think teaching is heading as a profession if this continues?
With this, I feel optimistic. I feel like it sucks, like how much we've had like just slammed into us, but like how much I'm growing as far as like being able to use these new tools that I've never used before that really were already there. We were just forced into using them. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, even when we go back to the way things used to be, if there's a such thing, there's so many things that I'm going to carry forward. And like I was saying before, I really think that we need to like take a good close look at how these small classes have impacted learning and what we can get done in this like smaller amount of time, and like free up time, maybe all the students, but maybe they are doing this academic learning in these like tiny pods, but then doing like these amazing things outside, like whatever their interests are, whether it be like outdoor or wilderness, maybe they want to develop their music, they can put more time into whatever their passions are. So I get really excited about that.
And most of the teachers, and perhaps it's because I try to draw positive thinking teachers towards me, but most of the teachers that I know have been saying positive things. Like one that's in my daughter's school district, and she's a 6th grade teacher. And I asked her, like, hey, you've been in school a week before I have to go. Any tips? And she was just like, patience, give them a mask break. And I was pretty impressed. All of the teachers said, you know what? It's actually going pretty good, and they're positive about it. And so I think that a lot of us have this really positive outlook on the future. And like, I don't think this is the new norm, but it's certainly a precedent to what the new norm will be.
I think it kind of distills back what we really need.
Yeah.
Like we've had, everyone's talked about Google before. We haven't had to really sit down and gone through the whole G Suite and know how everything works. But now it's like, oh yeah, I can supplement that with this and such. And I was writing to students today in Seesaw for things they've done. And I was like, I don't think I've ever been able to give each student individually their own sentence of encouragement for something they've done. And I'm like, this is great. I wish I could if I could just do that all day, I would love to just be able to do that and give them some little nugget that their teacher responded to them. And we get that.
I did that as well today. I was on my, remote classes, and I'm going through, and there's kids that are doing stuff early. And I'm like, hey, congratulations, like, thank you. Like, that's so cool of you. And the individual feedback, as I'm like saying it to them, I'm like, man, I really wish I could give the same feedback to the ones that are in class that are really putting this forward, but I don't have that opportunity to give that candid but private, information to them and their family. Like, hey, you're doing awesome.
Yeah.
I think that, at least I hope that stays the norm, that I get to do that. And, I'm all right with having my stuff online for them to access if they miss a day. And that's pretty cool.
It's nice that we can all be reached easily now, and technology is so readily available that it's going to be like that. Well, this has been an amazing show. Thank you, Mrs. Duley, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
This is so we went through a whole bunch of different things today. I don't think we need to really recap everything, but we did talk about the shell shock of the first week, which we're almost through. Next week, we'll see what happens. Some of us have some big surprises up our sleeves. Yeah, kind of like me. I might not be teaching all my classes. I don't know, but
oh yeah, right.
Some things got changed on my schedule, but it's some bureaucratic.
I'm like, I hope I don't have any surprises. I don't need any surprises.
I mean, keep up with the news and everything. So do all that. Well, let's try, because we did in the beginning pretty well. Let's try our outro, which is the exact same thing as our intro again, all right?
Okay.
I'm Mr. James.
And I'm Mr. Richie.
I'm Mrs. Dooley.
And we are the educators. Yes. Everybody have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.